I mean, let's start with AJ and White. Is a match in the professional ranks and a trilogy overall, I think they're 1-1, if you sort of factor in what happened in the amateurs, the right fight for both men at this stage, and who wins?
I'd say it is, yeah. I'd say it is the right fight, because we need to see Anthony Joshua kind of up his level a little bit and look a little bit more aggressive and try and look like he means business, because he's adopted this safety first style since losing to Ruiz a few years ago now in New York. I mean, he got Ruiz in the rematch in Saudi, outboxed him, manoeuvred him, got his titles back. Job well done, but it wasn't a job done satisfactorily enough to say he's good enough to step forward and move on to bigger and better things, which is what I said at the time, and I come under a lot of criticism for being honest. That's why I like TalkSport so much. I'm able to speak freely and be honest. It's good. Fantastic.
Well, I'm pleased you feel that way.
So yeah, AJ, for me, put in a bit of a lacklustre safety first performance against Ruiz, got the win out in Saudi, and then we've seen him, his two losses, back-to-back defeats with Usyk, which is no real shame, really. It's no like slant on AJ losing to one of the best cruiserweights that's ever lived, and such a technically proficient, talented fighter. Usyk is amazing, but he's a cruiserweight. He's stepped up to heavyweight, and I just think if you're bigger and stronger and you've got more reach than somebody, use them physical attributes. And in the rematch, I think he should have had more of a go and been a bit more aggressive. But he's still fighting a little bit nervous, in my opinion. I think he's still a little bit gun shy. He's not offensive enough. He doesn't throw enough punches. He runs out of steam, doesn't he? He gets tired. We see it against Pulev. He got the win. He was tired after he went for the stoppage in round 3 or 4.
Is that because of his sheer size?
You can't really say that, because look at some of the big heavyweights years ago. You know, some of the.
So what is it? Is it because he's not preparing properly?
Maybe he's not preparing properly. He's not doing the runs, not doing the sparring. Because no matter how big you are, you can get yourself into this shape where you need to do 12 rounds. I mean, he used to do 15 rounds years ago. But Klitschko's equally as big, a 12-round fighter. Vladimir and Vitali. Lennox Lewis, huge 12-round fighter. So you can't say it's because of his size. No, I mean, it doesn't help when you've got all the skeletal muscle swallowing all the oxygen. Physiologically, it's difficult. But you've got to get yourself in shape, you've got to get yourself fit. But this fight against White is a good one, because they're both, I don't know, are they both past the best? Are they both on the slide?
They're both fighting for their careers, really, aren't they?
They are, yeah, because I feel like the loser's got nowhere to go. Maybe White, if he loses, maybe he's always got a place in boxing. But you don't want to be a gatekeeper of the sport, really. He wants to go on and win world titles. But with Anthony Joshua's back-to-back defeats with Usyk, and then his lacklustre performance against Jermaine Franklin, I feel like we need to see something from him. We need to see something aggressive.
To send a message,
and he needs to be on his back foot a little bit and be against somebody who's coming to win. And Dylan White will certainly do that. He'll come to win. He's got a massive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, potentially. If he beats AJ, he might slip into this spot in Saudi where there's some ridiculous money getting thrown around. So it is a good fight for both of them at this stage of their career. They've both lost a couple of fights. We've seen White lose to Povetkin. We've seen him get knocked out by Fury. Close fight with Jermaine Franklin. They both fought Franklin, didn't they, in the last fight, and they both sort of
just about got over.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled a little bit, White, and I didn't think AJ probably did a better job, but it didn't look great. He was just boxing defensive first. So this is why I want to see AJ in with somebody who's trying to beat him, and I think White will come to win. But I don't just want to see him outbox and run and hide and move and keep out of the way and keep safe, because that's not going to set him up for a fight with Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury if that happens. I want to see AJ in there with White, and after round 4 or 5, start to have a go, start to press forward and throw combination punches like he used to, be aggressive and look like you mean in business, and convince people like me who have got doubts about his mindset and his what does he want out of the sport now. I mean, he has said he's fighting for money now. I don't think that's ever a good sign when someone says they're fighting for the money. I mean,
you're not the only one who's got doubts, though, because he was a bit spiky a couple of weeks ago, AJ, when he was suggesting that people on this radio station have maybe been disrespecting and overcritical. Why has he come out and reacted to that? And also, is that just an illustration that a lot of people, and it sounds like you included, are maybe frustrated that there's still unfulfilled potential there? He isn't the AJ of old.
Well, why has he been so sensitive? I mean, he's a big lad. He's a professional fighter, and somebody's got a bit of...
I don't know why they are giving...
Why is he being so sensitive? Okay. Yeah, we got...
So sensitive. I mean, he's a big lad. He's a professional fighter, and somebody's got a bit of constructive criticism to put his way. He should take that, especially from somebody who's won 4 world titles and has recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So get that in there for a little minute. But the people that's given
we did celebrate that with you the other week.
No, we did. But what I'm saying is, it's no personal vendetta against AJ. I mean, people have suggested that because he left Rob McCracken, which I've got my reservations about that. I think it was more of a mutual agreement. Rob maybe not wanting to work with AJ as much as AJ not wanting to work with Rob. So there's no problem. I want AJ to succeed. I want him to do well. It's good if we have a unified, undisputed champion in Britain. We don't want Usyk to take the belts away from our country. We want to keep him here. So whether it's Fury or AJ, I don't care. Let's keep the heavyweight boxing scene alive in Britain. AJ's got to be able to take some criticism on the chin when he's underperforming.
Is this him trying to create a siege mentality, a sort of me against the world, or is it actually a reflection that his mentality isn't as strong as maybe it should be?
Exactly, showing a bit of like weakness there, and being a bit sensitive. He needs to sort of like grow up a little bit and grow a pair and show. I'm hoping that his recent remarks, because he said a few things about me actually recently, but whether we'll go into that or not, I'm not too fussed. I can talk about it later with Spencer Oliver. But
what would you say in retort?
I think that because he's speaking out now and because he's having a go back at people and he's pointing out that people on TalkSport are a bit critical, I think that's good, because that might be in his head. He might be changing his mindset and having a go. Exactly.
I've got to get
so I'm going
to
show these. I'm going to have a go back at Froch. I'm going to have a go back at Spencer Oliver, and you know what I mean, the lads on TalkSport, Simon Jordan.
And those are the words of Carl Froch as he tells AJ to grow up. He wants to see his mindset improve. He doesn't know, and he doubts his mindset. He doesn't want him to fight scary or timid. He thinks that Dillian White is going to be the one to do that. So let me counterpunch. Carl Froch, to be fair, he does say a lot of things about a lot of people. He does. But you can't rule out his own personal vendetta against AJ. You can't. Why? Because he spends most of his energy talking about AJ. If you spend most of your time talking about AJ in comparison to everyone the same amount as AJ, you may have a problem with AJ. A personal one. Let's just keep it a buck. Okay? But nonetheless, I think that Carl Froch, he states that, well, he doesn't care he just wants the belts to be in the UK. Well, that means Tyson Fury. So, I mean, he doesn't really care as long as, the UK wins this thing, right? So that doesn't really bother him, and he said so much in that interview, to the point where it's like, okay, well, AJ, he shouldn't fight for money or this, that, and the other. But then, AJ has said, hey, I'm here for legacy. I just think it wasn't a mistake for him to say that he's only doing it for money, because, then when you say you're only doing it for money or you're doing it for this reason, people will only see you doing it for only that reason. Let's put it in that way. But him saying that, AJ really needs to grow a pair of balls. He's had a lot to say about me, and I'm reserved on what and how I feel about him and Rob McCracken. That means he doesn't want to say too much about that, and that may be a reason why he doesn't like Anthony Joshua. He has something, we're all human. So Rob McCracken, Carl Froch, those guys are real tight, okay, real tight. So the idea of him, especially when he wants Anthony Joshua to compare his career with his own, of course he would have a problem with Anthony Joshua leaving the trainer that took him to the promised land. Because, that would be contrary to everything that he done, because that's the trainer that he done that with. He was successful with Carl Froch, with Rob McCracken. So AJ leaving Rob McCracken, that tells wonders. Okay? That tells you everything, really. So I think that's basically what it is. And, the Wembley Arena and all that stuff, I think that's more like he didn't like that as much. But I think he puts more emphasis and more energy on the reasoning behind Anthony Joshua and Rob McCracken splitting. But it was, of course, him that revealed that Rob McCracken, if anything, left AJ, and it was a mutual deal. So, I did the interview or the counterpunch on that earlier in another video. But saying that he needs to grow up because they're criticizing him. Well, I think Talk Sports goes after AJ the most, Eddie Hearn the second, and everybody else after that. They make it their business to talk about certain people. But to be fair, you got guys like Simon Jordan. He will rip you a new pair. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Carl Froch stating that AJ, responding to AJ's comments about TalkSport and Carl Froch, that he needs to grow up and effing grow a pair. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!